Zoe Lofgren is the Democrat incumbent in the race. She's held the seat for more than 30 years.
There's a lot of things that we've accomplished in terms of providing the Affordable Care Act, the CHIPS and Science Bill, and brought hundreds of millions of dollars for infrastructure projects.
Lofgren says she thought seriously about retiring before choosing to run for another term.
I have been urged by many of my colleagues and many constituents to proceed.
She says if the Democrats regain control, she'll be in a position to chair the Science Committee, which she says will be an important opportunity to repair some of the damage that's been done.
What the Trump administration has done to the science enterprise in this country is tragic and will have lasting impacts on health in terms of the cures that they've disrupted.
Cost of living and high gas prices are also top of mind for Lofgren. She says people are struggling to make ends meet.
What's happened with the price of energy, with this war that Trump started for who knows what reason, it's just killing people.
She says that, coupled with the increased cost of fertilizer because of the war and tariffs, have cut off markets. She will work to reverse some of those decisions. As a former immigration lawyer and professor, another thing she's hoping to accomplish is finally reforming the country's immigration laws.
The law is basically the same structure since 1965. No wonder it doesn't work that well. People who've been here a long time, who are working hard, whose only problem is, they don't have their paperwork in order, but they're contributors and taxpayers. We need those people.
When it comes to housing, Lofgren supports a bipartisan bill to jumpstart housing finance and create access to affordable health care by reversing decisions to reduce Medicaid and Medicare. When it comes to the war in Iran, Lofgren does not support it and says Congress needs to push back when it comes to foreign affairs and regain some of the control.
Under the Constitution, only the Congress can declare war. We haven't. The president is trying to avoid that by saying it's not a war. It's just bogus, legally bogus. And it's up to the Congress to put their foot down and say, no, we're not going to pay for this. Stop it.
Shane Lewis is the Republican in the race. He's a Marine Corps veteran from Tallahassee, Florida, and currently works as an electrical test engineer for a medical device company in San Jose. Lewis says he's running for Congress because
I heard a politician say that the Second Amendment right could be regulated just like every other right, and that didn't sit well with me.
He says he's ready to make some changes for District 18.
If your federal government isn't consistent on the policies that it's implementing and it's swinging one way or the other way, all your local government can do is react.
Lewis says if elected, he'll work to make the federal government consistent so local governments can be proactive. He explains the ways he would do that.
One is the census, right? The federal census is based on a few things that encourages the state to take advantage or exploit those things to get additional tax dollars from the federal government. You actually can refine the census to where it redirects the state back to the people again. Then I think you're going to have a government that you're going to be more happy with.
He says that would take care of things like cost of living, economic opportunities, and access to health care. Other ways to bring consistency, ag policy, and taxes. And another core issue he's wanting to tackle is personal for him, with his wife being from Guatemala.
I think everybody in this community has experienced someone that's here illegally. These people have no rights. We really need to solve that. The problem is the federal government is supposed to regulate the border. And we should not, from party to party, have such a difference in how the border is regulated.
The national debt is another thing he'd like to address.
We have $39 trillion in debt. That's $230,000 on each working person in the United States.
Lewis says he's running this election because he wants to see these problems solved.
How can our federal government help our communities? What is the proper mode of our federal government? And how are policies that the federal government implementing right now or ignoring, how are they hurting our local communities?
Chris Demers has worked in human rights law as a USAID Foreign Service officer and most recently helped lead sustainability at HP. He says as a democracy reformer, he's running as an independent.
I don't think either party has been fixing our problems. And I think myself and others coming in as independents, reform-minded independents, are what we need.
He says current problems in Congress are vast and layered.
We're facing an affordability crisis like our country has not seen in recent memory. Over 50% of households in this country and in this district are going paycheck to paycheck.
One of his solutions, remove tariffs, which will lower the cost of living, and fix the current state of foreign policy, which is tying the Fed's hands on lowering interest rates.
There's over 1,000 goods and services that now have tariffs on them that didn't before the Trump administration. I'm also very concerned about our foreign policy recently and this meddling and desire to overturn other governments.
Demers is also looking at ways to make housing more affordable and protecting access to health care.
It's about bringing costs down in a logical way. I think we need to look very closely at how we regulate the health insurance providers.
He says he will fight to protect the rights of immigrants and work to immediately implement rules of engagement for ICE agents and make it clear they can be sued if they harm people.
Our immigrant populations need to be treated better and welcomed more, and we need them.
He says farmers and farm workers need to feel supported. Going to war with Iran has raised commodity prices, including fertilizer costs. He'll work to create a playing field for farmers that's more predictable. Lastly, Demers says Congress needs to limit the power of the president when it comes to raising tariffs and decision-making about foreign affairs and the Iran war.
Immediate conversations going on in Congress, immediate legislation that is really trying to pull back those authorities and not allow our president to do the kinds of things that he's doing.
Lauren Seaver, KSBW, Action News 8.
We reached out a number of times to Democrat Luis Acevedo Areguin for his interview about his candidacy. We never heard back.